Welcome into Mike Check the Show, where the podcast host becomes the podcast guest. I'm Vince Stover, here to dig into the personalities behind Belly Up Sports. Let's do a mic check with the creator and host of the Insert Name FC, Hector Flores. Hector, welcome to Mike Check.
I am so excited about this. Also, just awesome in general. And also, I get to work with you, Vince. I had a lot of fun with you doing Belly Up bonus round. So it's always a pleasure to find a way to get us working together. So
Yes, and it's funny, you cover soccer. I don't really pay attention to soccer, so we don't cross paths too often, but it's always a fun time when we do. And today's about getting to know you, Hector. So let's start with what first inspired you to start a show, a podcast?
Honestly, COVID happened. Obviously, a lot of people were without work at the time. I decided it'd be a bright idea to get my master's degree, which was not a bright idea. But me and a few of my classmates, someone brought up the idea of a podcast, and they had an idea generally what they wanted to do, but it was like no execution. I remember they asked me, they wanted me to be a personality, thought I was like funny enough and things like that. And I mean, for a long time, I've listened to podcasts. Like I have certain influences personally for myself, but I kind of knew the flow of a podcast, so I was kind of intrigued for it. I never thought of myself as a content creator. I never thought of myself as someone that would ever go into this realm. And then, but yeah, I just followed up with them like, hey, what's going on with that podcast? And I just heard crickets, so I was like, let me see, what do I need to like start a podcast? So I started kind of doing my research, and from there, I was just like, well, what do I want to talk about? I was like, I clearly love sports. As a matter of fact, I like American football. I like baseball. So it's not like one of those things that's like I just don't watch anything else. I watch multiple sports. Like grew up here in the U.S., of course, but soccer or football, whatever you want to call it, I frankly don't care. It was just the one that was for me. I can talk hours about. And so I knew I wanted to talk about soccer. I wanted to keep it niche also as well. So that's where the whole idea of a soccer podcast came to be. Recruited my childhood best friend, Edward. I've known him since I was 4 years old. And I'm 33 now. So if you guys want to reference, I know a lot of people has told me that they have never seen anything like that. Like people that have been friends for that long.
Yeah.
But honestly, like our episodes, whenever you hear me and Edward talk, that's literally how we talk off the mic. Like we'll be on topic, maybe we'll go away from the topic, but then we'll find ourselves right back on the topic. So it just made sense for me to have a podcast with him because we just had that chemistry. And the only challenge at that point was just to figure out a name. We were throwing names, things that we thought would sound cool, but to me it was just like either too specific to what we are, because me and Edward are both from Salvadoran parents. Both our parents come from El Salvador. We were born here in the United States, so we're first generations. So it was very specific to us. But I was like, I want this to be very open and broad. Like I want people to feel that you don't have to be able to speak Spanish to be part of the discussion. We'll throw Spanish every once in a while, but we try to stick it to English. And so I remember at that time, Charlotte FC just got announced that was going to be joining Major League Soccer. And the joke right now with MLS is that all these teams have these generic FC names. And look, do I get the properness of that? Yes. But at the same time, I like the Chicago Fire. I think it's funny that we have a team called the LA Galaxy. So I thought that was kind of, and then so at this point it just became very boring and generic. And so I remember throwing it out to Edward. I was like, oh look, another insert name FC. And as soon as I said that out loud, he looked at me and was like, I think that's the name. And so that's how Insert Name FC came to be. And yeah, we finally recorded one day in September. September will be our 5-year anniversary now.
Nice.
So yeah, ever since then, we've just recorded. Didn't know who would listen to us, but clearly we've done somewhat of a good job till now.
Well, it's funny, you talk about me and niche. Like I think that's a big thing for podcasters is finding something they can talk about that not everybody and their brother's talking about, and find something that what you're talking about too. Because it's more fun if you already know something about it. You don't have to do you still research, obviously, but you don't have to dig so deep because you know nothing. So that makes a lot of sense. And I'd never heard that about the name of your show as well. I think that's an awesome story because it's a great name. That that idea of insert name FC. Because what were your thoughts when Washington, the football team, kind of tried to go generic, kind of go that soccer when they went away from the Redskins? They were just a Washington football team for a second. Then the Washington. Did
I
you
thought it
feel
was
like that
hilarious.
was? Did you like it? Did you think that's come on, stick to your sport?
It was kind of funny that because there's some things that like you hear like other American sports fans discuss, and when the Washington football team came to be, I found it hilarious that was like, I'm like, you can't come up with a name anything right now, you just football team. And I remember a lot of people were like digging the name, which is a terrible thing to be digging of, but I thought it was hilarious. Like I said, the thing I love about America is that they're unapologetically themselves.
Yeah,
Maybe it's too much at times, but
sure.
unapologetically themselves. And I like the setup of having the town or state and then the mascot,
Mm,
and then trying to figure out what is a Nick, so
yeah.
I think it's the uniqueness of America. And yeah, I thought it was kind of disheartening when the Washington football team came to be. I'm very indifferent about the whole Redskins thing. I know that there's some origin story where the tribe was also in support of the name. I also get maybe Redskin isn't necessarily the most popular name to call somebody that, but clearly there was just clearly right now there's just been of people speaking to bring that name back in general. So, but yeah, the football team I thought was hilarious. Another one that I remember hearing was, and it kind of involved college football, was like, oh, these teams that are playing these good conferences that are just not good. Like I guess for an example, I don't think Arkansas is bad right now, but when Arkansas was like at the bottom of the SEC, like if only we can send them into a lower conference and move up a team from a lower
Relegation.
and I was like, that's a thing. It's called promotion relegation. Which to me that took two things for me. One, clearly people would like to see promotion relegation here in the U.S., which I think MLS should start taking notes. But two, um, we live in a world where we just reinvent things that and pretend that isn't a thing already.
Right. I'm in a fantasy baseball league that relegates. So it's got two separate leagues, and the bottom three get sent down. The top three get brought up every year in the league. It creates something fun. At the end of the day, you're still fighting for something, even if you're bad. You still got something to fight for at the end of the season and stuff like that too. It's an intriguing thing for sure. Tell me a little bit about. Let's go something that your listeners would be a little known fact about you that your listeners wouldn't necessarily guess.
Obviously, since we do talk a lot about soccer, I mean, I throw out my older sports fandoms from time to time, but I am actually very much a baseball nerd.
Hmm.
Uh, I that was actually my first American sport that I actually became like a true fan of. Obviously, once again, growing up in a Salvadorian home, I did a lot of things traditionally Salvadorian. Once
Yeah.
again, I'm first generation, so I'm very much like the closest thing to the culture of my family. And so, things that people found amusing about me was that I would eat frijoles like every day, beans. That's what, like, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I would eat beans with tortillas. And so, like, a lot of my friends like, you don't eat like spaghetti. I was like, yeah, from time to time, but I mean, there's always a pot of frijoles on the ready, so why not just eat that? So I like a lot of the things that I did was very customary to El Salvador, and obviously my dad uh, played soccer as a young kid, and then even my uncle was a very talented player. Almost made pro. If it wasn't for the civil war in El Salvador, and
Hmm.
so soccer has just been the thing I always knew. I didn't get introduced to American sports maybe till like late '90s. I started, like, I watched baseball. I went to the minute to Astrodome, so I went to the Astrodome, watched
Yeah.
the Astros there. I didn't necessarily was a fan yet of baseball. I think obviously I'm a kid, so I'm probably like this is taking forever. Can I go get another hot dog or something like that?
Yeah.
But uh, 2000, yeah, 2000, the Rams versus the Tennessee Titans was my first ever American football game I ever watched,
Oh wow.
and I was like, wow, this is actually really fun. And the funny thing to me was I at this point then assumed that this is how every football game is played. Like there's always a halftime show. There's always
Yeah.
like it's always a spectacle. So I was like, this is really cool. And then I watched my first like regular season game. I believe it was the Dallas Cowboys because the Texans didn't exist yet. And I remember just watching. I was like, "Where's the halftime show?" Just, uh, so that was intriguing. But with baseball, the Astros moved to Enron Field. Oh, that was Enron Field. That now it's Daikin Park. But they were playing against the Florida Marlins. They actually lost that game. But I remember watching Jeff Bagwell, Craig Biggio, Moises Alou, and I like being in the stadium watching the game and actually like paying attention. Luckily, I also had like a family member that was explaining to me what baseball, how the game works and everything like that. And to the point where I was like, this is actually a pretty fun game. Like the next day, I'm like at the backyard with a stick pretending to be like Jeff Bagwell.
Yeah.
So I very much gravitated to baseball, and I've been like a diehard Astros fan ever since, which I know that's not a very popular thing to say now these days.
Let's talk about that. The Astros had a little bit of a scandal a few years back. It's crazy to think how long ago that was now, right? Yeah, just a small scandal. How did you take that as a fan of the team? Like, was there any shame, or was there everybody just needs to get over it, or how did you take that whole situation?
I was on the field.
No
I was on
kidding.
the grounds crew. I was working for the grounds crew. So I started working in 2015. I joined the Astros grounds crew. So I was there from 2015 to 2018, and then I switched over to the marketing department in 2018, and then I left in 2020. But yeah, the funny thing was I was on the field throughout the whole thing. And so we kind of knew what was going on. We didn't talk about it, but um, it was the weird thing about that Astros team was they were actually better on the road than they were at home. I'm not trying to make excuses for it. At the end of the day, they got caught.
Yeah.
I mean, that same year, the Boston Red Sox got caught with like Apple Watches, and I believe during the investigation for the Apple Watches, the Yankees also got caught doing some sort of electronic science. So everyone there was proof already that there was 3 teams that did it. Obviously, I think it was handled very poorly. Just in general, was just not handled right. I hated that it ended up losing the jobs of AJ Hinch and Jeff Lunau. Obviously, Jeff Lunau's doing great. I mean, he owns like two soccer teams, one in Mexico and one in Spain right now. So, I mean, he's doing great for himself. And AJ Hinch, I mean, I don't know about I don't know too much right now with Detroit. I'm optimistic for him, but in general, he's a great guy. Got to speak to him plenty of times. I actually threw a ball really badly in front of him, and he gave me like this WTF look, and I was like, that's why I'm not on your team. And so, but yeah, I mean, aside from that, I mean, I think it's kind of hard for me to like try not to be biased with it, just because I got to know these players, and they're all generally really good guys. Like Jose Altuve is a guy that I have a lot of admiration for, just in general, just being one of the things that people say about him, just being generally one of the nicest guys in baseball is actually the truth. I remember, and it's kind of weird too, because obviously all this happened with the whole Hurricane Harvey, which kind of uplifted that whole city. And I remember after Harvey happened, the players were finally able to come back to Houston, because remember, they were on the road. They actually played in Florida against the Rangers for their home series over there. And so when they came back, I remember these guys were training, but the first thing they did was they walked up to us, like all the employees, making sure that we were good, if we needed anything, to like let them know. That's truly like the Astros, despite the scandal, is actually a well-run organization. And it's as someone that got to work for them, it was funny though when the scandal did come out. I knew about the TV. As a matter of fact, if you see like the picture of where like the TV was put on the table, there's like a door. That door is actually where we put the water hose that we water the infield with. So literally, all of us are always walking down, and we see them install like hooking up the TV. And also the bad boys, they used to put all the gum and seeds down there, because they got tired of us taking the seeds and gum. Especially because I was a big sucker for black pepper, for the black pepper wings, and so and one of us would always have to go down there and grab some seeds and stuff. And I remember one time I went down, they were installing the TV, and I was like, you guys should just mount it on the wall if you're gonna keep unhooking it and rehooking it up. And they just like stared at me. I was like, all right, I'm the idiot, and that just went up. And then So that was a fun interaction that I had my time at the Astros.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. Hey, if you weren't podcasting, what would you be spending your time doing? Because right now, you get your show that you work on, you prep for it, you do it. I know it's not the only thing that you do in life, but what would you be doing if you weren't doing podcasting?
Um, I think I'd be at the beach more. Obviously,
Yeah.
I live in Houston, Texas. We're like maybe like 45 minutes out from Galveston. I know Charles Barkley has his things to say about Galveston, but it's all I got. Unless I move to Florida or well, I'm not going to California, but like if I go to like to Florida or somewhere with like the nice Atlantic coast, uh, it's all I got. So
Yeah.
I think I'd probably be more of a beach bum. Uh, I do spend a good amount of time with the family. I obviously take any chance I get to be with them. Um, but yeah, I think probably just I don't know. I'd really play video games. I guess more. I
Yeah.
really I can't imagine. Like this actually frees up, gives me a lot of time to think. And funny enough, like I guess in some sense, as a podcaster, you're writing the story. You're telling the story of these players, and it's funny. I tell this to Edward all the time. Is like even though I'm a fan of this specific team, actually I'm wearing the jersey right now, Real Madrid. Even though I'm a fan of this team, like it's hard not to fall in love with some of these players' stories. Like even if a team from a right, like a player from a rival, like right now, from Barcelona, Lamine Yamal, like the kid that just turned 18 years old, but already is looked at as one of the best players in the world. It's like it's hard not to watch this kid and enjoy what he's doing. I don't know if that's something that you've ever experienced, just seeing like a player. You're like you kind of learn real quick to like let me push my fandom to the side and let me just enjoy the game for what it is. And I think for me, yeah, I can't imagine what I would be doing without podcasting because this is one help. Like I get to do what I love the most, which is watch a game that I truly love.
Yeah. Does it change the way you watch games just thinking that everything as a host turns into content, right? So you're watching a game. Does it? People talk about this with fantasy sports sometimes too. Well, fantasy has ruined my enjoyment of watching the game because now I'm mad that my guy didn't get the touchdown, or whatever it may be from there. As a host, I think it changes the way you watch sports too, because as you're watching, you're thinking, okay, we're going to need to talk about this. Or how can I make this thing interesting, or whatever it may be? Have you seen that where it's kind of changed the way you watch the sport in the idea of how you turn it into content?
I think I got that check that reality moment was when we recorded our first episode, and it was we were previewing the leagues. Like our obviously every new episode or the first episode of our new seasons is always previewing the Power Five leagues, if you will, of Europe. And I remember when we were like games to highlight. Hey guys, Paris Saint Germain is going to play against Olympique Marseille. It's a rivalry game. It's going to be really intense. If you guys get a chance, go watch it. Just to see what like I guess like a proper European rivalry is going to look like. And I remember watching that game, and it ends with a straight up brawl between the players, and I was like, all right, well, I didn't anticipate this happening, and and it became a great conversation topic to have the next episode. I was like, all right, well, I didn't expect a fight to break out, but hey, I mean, what a recommendation. So
Have you ever gotten a chance to interview somebody that you didn't think you'd ever have a chance to interview?
um well, here in Houston, we have Glenn Davis. He's like the he's like a ESPN radio host, well respected amongst the soccer community, not just here in Houston, but just overall, just because he covers a lot of matches. He does like commentary, and he's definitely like for Houston's sake is really important. I think to especially spread the game the game to everybody. And it was just funny. I just messaged him on LinkedIn, and he's like, "Yeah, let's do it." And it was one of those like I just never thought I'd interview this guy. And the really cool part was for him to be very attentive and even checks up on me. He's like, "Hey, how's the show going? Like, what are you guys doing? Like, what can I do? What are some things I can do?" So that was really cool. But I think to me, like I just never expected for someone to reply, because I mean, you know it. It's a lot of messaging people and hoping they respond. And it was a U.S. men's national team player. His name is Heath Pierce. He does a lot of like now he does a lot of podcasting for U.S. soccer content. And this guy played a position that I played. So that's kind of where my connection with him was. But this was like super early on the days of the podcast. So I was like, I don't know if our content's really that great, but this guy wants to come on and talk. And it was just really cool because hearing him explain the game, it was like, clearly this guy gets paid
Yeah.
to do this.
Yeah.
And it was definitely really cool just to talk to a guy that has played in some of the big stages for the U.S.
I love it, man. Tell me a little bit about the prep that it goes into your shows. Because I think some people probably do just turn on the camera and talk. You can usually tell those people apart from the people who prep for it. So talk a little bit about your preparation before you hit the record button.
I mean, me and Edward, we have like a little timeline of what are the topics we're gonna talk about today. We usually provide like bullet points. It's not, obviously we're not gonna put all the information out there, but because I don't want to give Edward too much info, and obviously I don't want to share all my info to Edward. So I want to make the discussion. Um, but we hit some bullet points of whatever topic is gonna be. At the same time too, like if we feel like there's something maybe we shouldn't really be talking about this, like this is a little too sensitive, let's not talk about it, or if we're going to approach it, let's approach it as best as we can. So there it comes with that. But we usually have, I think initially we just went in and just started talking, and I realized this sounds like crap. And so and also, well, the way, especially the way me and Edward are, it's just one shot, and then honestly, like if we screw up, we're like, we won't edit it. We'll just keep going. But the reason why we say it like that is because like it's so hard to replicate whatever moment happened. Like
Right.
it's just like, I remember one of the most random things was we were talking about something and I said, well, anything's possible, and then we both ended up doing the Kevin Garnett anything is possible. And it was just one of those, like, we can't replicate this. Like this isn't something that we can just, hey, let's cut and let's do it again. Like, it's just, everything is just fluid. Luckily, I think at this point, me and Edward have this routine where we know how to talk to each other. We know who, he knows I'm going to go on a rant. He lets me have my rant, knows when to cut me off. And I know when Edward's about to go half asleep. And, so it's one of those things where, once again, I've known this guy since I was 4 years old. So it's kind of like that partnership. But yeah, we have like a straight timeline. Like, all right, this is where we're going to talk about this segment, players of the week. We'll break it down. We have well broken down. And I mean, for the sake of just making sure that the recordings aren't super long, we'll break them down. So like, it maybe we'll record like the headlines this day, and then we'll maybe do players of the week some other something within the week. So it just depends on how we're doing it. And luckily also we've also had like plenty of people to talk with, so we always have like ways that we can maybe alleviate ourselves. It's not easy for Edward, being that he's a single father of twin boys. So whenever he gives me time, that's when we go full send for it. But
yeah,
obviously we've had Kelsey on plenty of times on the show, and he fills in plenty of times for Edward.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. All right, I want to get a little bit more personal insight on you. So let's do, you talked about earlier about you had some influences podcasting wise. You like to listen to some podcasts. So what are some of the podcasts you like to listen to regularly?
Obviously, part of my take is the first one I have to think about. Dan Katz to me is like, as soon as I heard Dan Katz talking, I was like, this is what I want to be. Like, if I can be this guy for anybody, this is like, I don't want to, I think the way we approach with the podcast is, yes, we're fans, but we're not experts. We're not going to pretend to be anything else. We're going to say a lot of moronic stuff. And, just because this is fans talking, not a guy in a suit in a British accent. So that, we take it for what it is. And we say it all the time, like, all right, this is going to sound dumb, but so it's, you can definitely hear a lot of Dan Katz's like influence on me on the way I talk and how I kind of, speak on certain topics. And so I would say Dan Katz is definitely, like, to me, my biggest influence when it comes to podcasting. I like how he does it. He makes people feel comfortable when they interview, whenever they interview him. They know, like, hey, we're not going to do, this isn't going to be serious. We can laugh, joke around a little bit. Don't expect me to expose you in any way, and I think that that's kind of the environment that I try to have with Insert Name FC.
I like it. What about, do you have podcasts you listen to that are non-sports related, like other things that you like to listen to, or you stick mainly to sports stuff?
I would say The Office Ladies.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and I mean, me and Edward also, we don't shy away from it for our love of like just random sitcoms.
Yeah.
So The Office is like our agreed upon like our favorite show. Like we still hate Netflix to this day for taking it off. Um, and I mean, I will say this: Edward was a great doomsday prepper because he bought like the DVD box sets, so he can watch The Office whenever he pleases. I wish I would have thought of that. But yeah, no, yeah, I think I just like the thing I like about The Office. One, it's not sports, so I think it's I'm not saying that I can't I can go weeks talking about sports and that'll be
Yeah.
fine, but it is kind of like I guess like a palate cleanser, if you will, to hear about like the behind the scenes of a show that I very much love from start to finish, and so I think that's like my other thing. Beside that, I mean, uh I don't want to count them as podcasting because like Tactical Manager, and I've actually got the pleasure of having him on the podcast. He's a guy that coach in soccer, and now he makes content talking about soccer. I like a lot of the content that he does. I don't really call it a podcast; it's more like a YouTube channel. But
Sure.
and then obviously then that's how I met the guys from Goals TV. A lot of the stuff that they do is also sometimes I take time to watch, but obviously also I watch a lot of belly up stuff. I like watching your show. I like watching Kelsey, mainly just because I've known Kelsey for like so many years, and
Yeah.
we've been together for quite some time, and we've been through a lot, and so seeing how they progress as a show, and obviously when we had the opportunity to join Belly Up, we wanted to hear what everybody else was capable of, and
Yeah.
because we're like to us this was like a big deal, going to Belly Up Sports, because you're like, oh, these guys have a lot of a good following. We want to see what they're doing right. What can we do that they're doing, and so it's like listen to you guys, no credentials required. Listening to Corner Booth, take some notes, Corner Booth, but uh, it's really interesting how we all have the same goal in mind, and we have different approaches, and I think that it's a really cool thing to be able to like pick things off from one another and see how maybe I need to learn to be more professional. I need to take some notes from Vince. So I think it's really important.
If you could have any guest, one person to come on your show, and let's make it really broad. So dead or alive, past or present. If you could have one person to interview on your podcast, on your show, what would it be? Who would it be, I guess?
I'll do a dead or alive one. I'll do a dead and a live one.
Okay.
A live one. I mean, it's my childhood idol. Well, I have two childhood idols, but I'll use the U.S. soccer idol, which is Kobe Jones. I like I said, I came from a family that's from a foreign country, and so there was a time where I didn't take U.S. soccer seriously, and I mean, a lot of Americans also don't take U.S. soccer very seriously to begin with. So I mean, I might be in the majority there. But there was a good while that I just didn't take the U.S. seriously. Like I just kind of, scoffed on them. Like I was like, oh, they're not really a real team. And so, which I can't say much. I'm Salvadorian. Our national team's terrible, but at the same time, like I'm watching Brazil, watching France, and those are like powerhouses, right? But when my dad forced me to go to a U.S. soccer game. I don't know how he got the tickets, but he forced me to go to this U.S. soccer game. And that's when I saw Kobe Jones, and I was like, "Oh wow, the way he was playing was very Brazilian-esque. Obviously, Brazil is a very big connection to a lot of Salvadorians because that's the only positive thing we can watch. So watching Kobe Jones play, and I later found out that he played in the Brazilian leagues, so that just checked off like why that made a lot of sense. But he made me enjoy the game, and I was like, you know what, maybe the Americans aren't as bad. And so then I started watching more of the U.S. team, and then I got to see players like Claudio Reyna, got to see Brian McBride, obviously then got to watch Landon Donovan, Clint Dempsey, Josie Altidore, and Tim Howard, and I became a U.S. soccer supporter. I mean, I'm even a member of the American Outlaws, so that's the supporter group for the U.S. And yeah, if none of that would have happened, if it wasn't for Kobe Jones. So I would would love to interview him. That I don't know how well I would be composed. I think at one point I'll probably cry a little bit. I mean, this guy made me fall in love with a national team.
Yeah.
So I think that one for sure. Alive, that would be it. Dead. It's kind of hard just because like a lot of people that I grew up watching are still alive,
Sure.
luckily. But I think for a player that hasn't been around that well, I might not make it soccer. It might honestly for me it would probably have been Robin Williams. I
Okay.
think
Yeah.
as one a big part of my upbringing, watching Mrs. Doubtfire, watching what was it, The Hook.
Yeah.
Any like basically if there was a kids movie, Robin Williams, he was the genie.
Yeah.
So he was a
Yeah.
big part of my childhood, and definitely comedians are also something that I generally love. I watch a lot of comedians. George Lopez at one point was one of my favorite comedians, not so much anymore. Cat Williams, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Eddie Murphy. Those guys always like were able to get me to laugh. And it's a beautiful thing. People there that can do that to help laugh is like the ultimate medicine. And
Yeah.
so Robin Williams, he provided a lot of great stuff, not only as a comedian but also just a tremendous actor. I mean, Good Will
Right.
Hunting. So I definitely would say him would be probably like nothing's gonna get accomplished in that interview just because of the way he is. But
Right. Yeah. The conversation gets
never answers a single question.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's close out. I got 6 more things for you. Kind of lighthearted, maybe a little. It doesn't have to be quick fire, I guess. But what's your go-to snack if you're going to sit down and watch a soccer match or a baseball game or whatever it may be? What's your go-to snack?
Hot fries, Chester's hot fries.
Okay. Do
Um,
you put frijoles on the hot fries?
no, no. It's I don't know. I think it's I don't think it's a Hispanic thing, but we just love spicy.
Yeah.
So the Chester's hot fries, I think I was introduced to it in middle school. At first, I thought it was unbearably hot, and after that, I just could never get enough of it. And I think that's when I got into eating a lot of spicy food. Never thought I would get into it. My family, all right, I'm nowhere near my family's level. Like they're biting like a serrano chili pepper,
Uh-huh.
just biting into it and just like, oh, it's not that hot today. I'm like, and I'll just lick the pepper and I'm already in full sweat. So, but I do prefer some spice in my food. So I think definitely would need something that gives me a little pep in my step while I'm watching the game.
I love it. All right. If your podcast had a mascot, what would it be? You said you liked, in American sports, especially American football, you've got the city name, state name, whatever, and a mascot. So insert name, FC mascot. What would it be?
I think it definitely would have been my dog Robo.
Okay.
He was a staple for us for a long time in the podcast. Obviously he's up there in heaven and watching over us, but we had a lot of funny moments in the podcast because of him, just him barking in the middle of our recordings, getting him to calm down, while we were trying to record. Cause we just went outside and he got to go run around in the backyard. So yeah, Robo was definitely like, he was our intern / mascot / just everything to us. And, it really did suck not having him, losing him, but he's still like a big part of the podcast. And one of the funniest moments in the podcast was actually when he farted in mid recording, and like me and Eric were trying so hard to stay on topic, but we just could not. And once again, we didn't edit it, so it's in the whole episode. We're just so. Yeah, I think our mascot would be Robo. So
I love it. We need more dogs in Belly Up. There's too many cat people in Belly Up sports right now.
I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, that's a conversation for another day, but come on, people, get a dog. If you could instantly gain one new skill to improve your show, what would it be?
Ooh. I would probably say camera, anything camera related.
Yeah.
I think at some point me and Edward need to step off the streaming and just be in person. If I can just learn how to figure out how to make a camera not stop at 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I think that would be like the next step forward. So I think I just need to become a camera wizard.
There you go. I like that one. I would love a producer. I don't want to learn anything. I just want a producer to do it all for me. But sadly, I don't have that in place right now. So I like that. That's a good skill. I like that one for sure. All right. What is a guilty pleasure show or song that you're super into? You already mentioned The Office, but I don't think that's a guilty pleasure.
Nah, that I'm not ashamed to admit that one. Well, so my I'm actually really into musicals.
Okay.
So Grease is obviously a big one. Greatest Showman is completely inaccurate, but it is so entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say, actually, as a matter of fact, I have the Greatest Showman album saved on my Spotify playlist. So
There you go.
that is very much like I'll just jam to that and sing my heart out with Hugh Jackman. So I mean,
I like it. We're gonna have a belly up talent show at some point, or maybe belly up karaoke. Maybe that's what we need to do, and we'll have you sing The Greatest Showman.
If one of the things that we used to do on the podcast was singing beds.
Okay.
So we initially it started out because me, Edward, and our beat provider Spencer. So we're all fans of a team in the same league, and they just all happen to be rivals. And so we were just like, oh, I bet winner, loser has to sing for like our conclusion of the episode.
Yeah.
And so we did a lot of like iconic singing bed moments. We had Spencer sing Rick Astley. Edward had to sing some weird stuff too. I just don't remember. Oh, he had to sing Frozen. He had to sing the song from Frozen, Let It Go. So yeah, I think I just sing Despacito. So it's we've had some very iconic moments. Obviously, we don't do it now just because of trying to avoid copyright strikes. But
yeah,
but yeah, that was like a big part of our podcast was doing the singing bets.
I love it.
But now we just do jersey bets. So like we do like a table. Person that finishes on top of the table gets a jersey at the end of the year. So
nice.
that's our new stick. But the singing bets were really fun. Kelsey, that's how he was introduced to us, was
okay.
the episode where Spencer had to sing Rick Astley. So, and after that, he was like, I gotta figure out what these guys are about.
Right. I love it, man. All right. Now you said favorite soccer team is Real Madrid. Who's your favorite player from all time Real Madrid?
I mean, the reason why I became a Madrista was because of Ronaldo, not Cristiano Ronaldo, El Phenomenal, R9. He was so, that's kind of like the origin story for me and Edward as far as like our clubs. Edward supports Barcelona and I support Real Madrid. And at one point, we didn't know much about clubs. We didn't know about the club teams. We just knew about World Cups. And I remember we both watched Brazil. There was two players from that Brazilian team that we were very much glued on. I was very focused on Ronaldo, and Errol was a big Ronaldinho fan. And so finally one of us owned a game system and we played FIFA.
Nice.
And that's how we found out that Ronaldo played for Real Madrid and Ronaldinho played for Barcelona. And so since then, Edward's been a Barcelona fan and I've been a Real Madrid fan ever since.
I love it, man. Video games have played such an impact on choosing sports teams in my life as well. I absolutely love that. Let's see. You're an Astros fan. Favorite Astro player? Is it Bagwell or is it you got someone else as your favorite Astro?
It's Jeff Bagwell, man. Like okay. I mean, I literally was trying to do his batting stance. It doesn't work for anybody else except for him. Yeah, I mean, Hall of Famer. One of my all-time moments was actually when I got to meet him. He was too inebriated to remember it, but I got to meet Jeff Bagwell. I told him that he was like my hero. And he was like, "Oh, that's cool, man. That's it." That was the whole conversation. I didn't care. It was Jeff Bagwell. So
yeah. You're a Houston Texans fan, right?
Yep.
All right. So you have a favorite Texans player, or do you have another NFL player that's your favorite NFL player?
I mean, if you're from Houston and you do not say Andre Johnson, there's something blasphemous about you. For baseball, by the way, it's Miguel Cabrera. That's okay. My goat. That is my goat for baseball. NFL wise. I mean, obviously I didn't have a team at the time because the Texans weren't a thing. But when I watched Randy Moss, I was I just had a lot. Obviously, I know you're not a very big fan of him, uh, but yeah, watching him play, I think it's because I gravitated to him because he was just having so much fun. Maybe a little too much fun at times, but he was just fun to watch, and it just seemed like nobody could stop the guy. And so, as far as like American football goes, that it was definitely Randy Moss.
Randy Moss should have been a Packer. When he went to New England, he should have been a Packer. Was it Favre or Rodgers? Rodgers wanted him. No, was it Favre back then? May have been Favre still. Wanted him. And now I can't. No, it had to have been Rodgers. Either way, the Packers should have traded for him. They didn't. He went to the Patriots. It made no sense why Randy Moss didn't go to Green Bay. What he went to New England for was so cheap, and it was just stupid. So, nonetheless, I'll go down in history saying Randy Moss should have been a Packer at some point in his career, and he never made it. Super entertaining dude, and a really cool 30 for 30 as well. Or maybe it's not 30 for 30, I guess, but
It was
okay, yeah,
Rand
yeah,
University.
Yes, yep. Yeah. So that was really cool too. All right, final question is this: I need your Mount Rushmore, so your top 4 of soccer players of all time.
Whew, all right. Well, I mean, R9's
This is talented. This isn't your favorite. This is just the most talented goats.
Talented.
Yeah, top four of all time.
All right. Well, I mean, Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo have to be up there. I think that they ruined a generation of players because they were always in the topic conversation. No one else got to have their moment in the sun. So, you know, that's just how you know how dominant their period was just the fact that no one else got to talk about anybody else when it comes to it. And these are guys obviously that I actually got to watch. Talent. I mean, Roberto Carlos. He's one of the most talented fullbacks that I got to watch. Watching the game actually was the reason why I became a right back. Was the way he played. At one point, a fullback in soccer it was kind of like a position where you just put the guy that sucks on there. But it's actually a really important position, especially now in the game. It's you have to be pacey enough to play against the best player, which is normally a winger, and you have to be as productive as you can be with the ball. So it's very important. It's a very important position where you have to be a two-way player. And so watching him play, and the moment that I always remember is his free kick that was almost like halfway to the goal, and he just sunk it. So I mean, he definitely made me appreciate that position a little bit more. And then, all right, well, I mean, I gotta find a way to put it. Well, I already put a Brazilian, so I don't have to worry about that. I think for me, a guy that was just really good on the ball, just smart, everything that you want. It's definitely Andrea Pirlo. A guy that just knew how to read the game. I know some people are going to tell me Andres Iniesta or Xavi, but I don't want to put a Barcelona player. I already put Messi on there for crying out loud. But Andrea Pirlo, I think, made me understand the importance of what a midfielder needs to play like. At one point, I did have to play midfield, and I watched a lot of his film, watch a lot of tapes of him just to see what exactly a midfield needs to play like. Don't have to be the fastest player on the field. You just got to be the smartest guy on the field. And I think the way he played, it's the best way to play as a midfielder.
I love it, man. I love it. Hector, this has been fun. Tell everybody about, some of the people that are tuning in, listen to you probably all the time, wanted to learn more about you. There's other people who are being introduced to you right now. So tell people about your show, where they can find it at, where they can follow you at on socials and things like that.
Everything social media at Insert Name FC. We luckily no one has that handle, so that was great. So yeah, anything on social media. We tend to be a lot of, especially now I have an addiction of creating myself as a cartoon character.
Yeah.
So a lot of cool pictures. You're gonna see a lot of that of. Also, I mean, new episodes every Thursday. You'll see it on Belly Up's YouTube channel. Especially we're back in season. Our football is back, and I'm really excited about this season. It's gonna be really, especially after last year, how so many new champions got to be awarded. And so I can't wait what this season is going to bring. But yeah, new episodes every Thursday here on Belly Up Sports YouTube channel, man. And that's really the most important part is coming here and check out all the great content here. Not only just us, but, Vince's show, everybody's show. This is Belly Up's trying to build something here really cool. And I think that it starts here.
I love it, man. And that's what this is all about with Mike Check, is getting to know more belly up sports personalities. Hector is one of many in the belly up sports world, and that's what we're trying to do, is introduce you to the other people, everyone that's in the belly up sports content world for sure. So our next Mike Check is going to be with our Canadian friend, Brent Radlinsky, is going to be joining the program as well. We're going to learn all about him, big baseball guy. So we're talking some Yankees and his origin story as well. So everybody, we sure appreciate you coming in for this edition of Mike Check. Hector, again, man, a lot of fun. Great to get to know you. I learned some things about you today. I'm excited about that. And of course, we got some big stuff. We're in some fantasy football league together this year, and we got things ahead as well in the belly up sports world that it's going to be quite honestly just incredible. So hope that you'll tune in. Belly Up Sports on YouTube, and always check out bellyupsports.com. There's articles, and you can find more information about all the shows on the network as well. Well, friends, I think it worked. This was Mike Check. We'll see you next time.